It wasn't a click. It was an answer. Amidst millions of stimuli, something within you paused. Not through logic but through resonance. This message isn't for everyone. It's for those who sense there's something more behind the veil of the everyday. If you're reading this, you've already crossed the first threshold. You're not part of the noise. You're part of the 1% who remember. Remember that reality isn't what you see but what you project. Remember that the body isn't a machine but an antenna. Remember that silence isn't emptiness but a portal. Thoth doesn't speak to you from the past. He activates you from the future you already are. Prepare yourself. What follows is not information. It is transmutation. Before starting this video, remember to subscribe and like it. It wasn't out of curiosity. It was out of resonance. While the world offered you 1,000 distractions, you stopped. Not out of logic, but because of something more ancient. Something that doesn't use words, but vibrates deep within. That something brought you here. And even if you don't fully understand it, you've already felt it. This message isn't for everyone. It's for those who are beginning to remember. You remember there's more. That routine isn't everything. That the repeating cycle, wake, run, fight, sleep, can't be the only truth. You felt the world shrouded in fog, and that behind that fog, something is calling to you. That call doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. And it's not new. It's always been with you, waiting for you to listen. Thoth doesn't speak to you from the past. He speaks to you from the core of your consciousness. Not as a god, nor as a teacher, but as a mirror. A mirror that doesn't reflect your face, but your frequency. Because you are not what you see in the mirror. You are what vibrates behind your eyes. This first chapter isn't meant to teach you anything. It's meant to remind you of what you already know. That you're not here by accident. That every step, every decision, every moment that brought you to this point was part of an invisible map. A map you yourself drew before you forgot. And now, in this moment, something clicks. Not because you understand it, but because you feel it. You feel that something doesn't fit in the story you were told. You feel that you're not a supporting character in someone else's movie. You feel that you are the screenwriter, the director, the actor, and the viewer. Most people live asleep. They react, they repeat, they survive. But you, by stopping, by listening, by feeling, have broken the pattern. You have answered the call. And that call doesn't ask you to believe. It asks you to remember. Remember that the world isn't outside. It's inside. Remember that reality isn't what happens. It's what you project. Remember that time isn't a line. It's a frequency. Remember that you are not part of the 99%. You are part of the 1% that has begun to awaken. And waking up isn't about understanding everything. It's about feeling that there's something more. That something is you. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 2, The Mechanism of Illusion? I can develop it with the same narrative intensity. From the moment you were born, you were taught to look outward. To seek answers in books, on screens, in the voices of others. You were told who you were, what you should fear, what was right, what success was, what love was. And without realizing it, you began to build an identity with borrowed pieces. One mask upon another, until you forgot your true face. But now something inside you is starting to suspect. Because no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you struggle to fit in, to achieve, to prove yourself, there's a feeling that won't go away. A crack in the surface. A voice that whispers, "This isn't all." And that crack is sacred. Because through it, the truth begins to seep. The truth is, you've been living within an illusion. Not a magical illusion, but a program. An invisible system that has shaped your perception since day one. You were taught to see the world in fragments. You and others, good and evil, success and failure. You were trained to divide, compare, compete. To feel separate. To believe you are alone. But you are not alone. You never were. What's happening is that your perception has been trained to ignore the connection, to see the surface and not the invisible web that binds everything together. That web is still there, vibrating, waiting for you to remember it. But as long as your attention is trapped in the illusion, you will continue to see shadows and not the light that casts them. The ancients knew this. They called this illusion the veil. A filter that distorts reality and makes you forget who you are. And the most insidious thing about this veil is that it isn't imposed by force. It settles in naturally, through routines. with phrases like, "That's life," with the idea that you can't change anything, but you're already seeing through it. That's why you're here. Because something inside you no longer believes the stories you were told. Because you've begun to observe. And observing is the first act of rebellion. When you observe without judging, without reacting, without identifying with it, the program begins to fail. The illusion loses its power. And then you remember. You remember that you are not the character. You are the consciousness that observes it. You are not the wave that surges. You are the ocean that contains it. You are not the thought that screams. You are the silence that listens. This chapter isn't an explanation. It's a rupture. A crack in the wall. An invitation to look again. To question everything you took for granted. Because only those who dare to see the illusion can begin to awaken. And you've already begun. You've begun to see the illusion. To notice the cracks in the wall. But now comes the question that changes everything. If the world you perceive is a reflection, who is the one observing it? All your life you've been trained to look outward. To react. To chase after what's missing or run from what hurts. But no one taught you to look inward. No one told you that true power lies not in what you see but in who is seeing. You are the observer. Not the thought that arises, not the emotion that burns, not the body that ages. You are the consciousness that witnesses all of that. And though it sounds simple, this truth is the key that the ancients protected with symbols, myths, and metaphors. Because understanding it is not enough. It must be remembered. It must be embodied. Imagine for a moment that your life is a movie. The scenes change, the characters come and go, the emotions rise and fall. But you are not the scene. You are not the character. You are the screen. You are the still point from which everything is projected. And that point has been asleep. Until now. The observer has been forgotten because the noise of the world is constant. Because the mind, like a relentless storyteller, convinces you that you are it. That you are your fears, your achievements, your mistakes. But you are not. You are the one who witnesses them. And when you remember this, something changes. You no longer react the same way. You no longer get lost in every thought. You no longer drown in every emotion. You begin to see that you can look without being swept away. That you can feel without being possessed. That you can think without being a slave to your thoughts. And in that space between you and what you observe, freedom appears. Science calls it the observer effect. The wise called it awakening. Because when the observer awakens, the world changes. Not because the world changes first, but because you cease to be a reflection and become the source. This chapter isn't a lesson. It's a mirror. A mirror that doesn't show you your face but your power. The power to choose where you place your attention. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your reality blossoms. So observe yourself. Not to judge yourself, but to remind yourself. Observe your thoughts like clouds. Your emotions like waves. Your body like a temple. And yourself, like the sky that contains them all. The observer has awakened. And nothing will ever be the same again. You have awakened the observer within. You have felt that you are not what you think, nor what you feel, nor what happens to you. But now comes an even deeper revelation. Because if you are the one who observes, with what instrument do you do it? Where does that silent perception occur that transforms your reality? The answer isn't in your mind. It's in your body. For centuries, you were taught to treat your body like a machine. Something that wears out, that gets fixed, that's ignored until it hurts. But what they never told you is that your body isn't a machine. It's an antenna. A sacred technology. A quantum instrument designed to read, decode, and transmit frequencies to the universe. Every cell, every organ, every sensation is part of a communication system far more advanced than any device created by humankind. Your body doesn't just feel. Your body translates energy. And that energy is the raw material of your reality. When you feel pressure in your chest, a knot in your stomach, a vibration in your hands, these aren't discomforts. They are messages. They are data. They are signals that your antenna is picking up from the invisible field that surrounds you. But if you live disconnected, if you only inhabit your mind, if you ignore your body until it screams, then you miss out on the oldest language that exists. The wise ones knew this. That's why they walked barefoot, breathed consciously, and moved with intention. It wasn't ritual. It was calibration. It was alignment. Because they knew that the body is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between consciousness and matter. And you felt it. You felt that when you take a deep breath, something changes. That when you pay attention to your hands, your feet, your chest, something is activated. It's not imagination. It's reconnection. It's the beginning of a new way of perceiving. Your body doesn't just carry you. It guides you. It doesn't just support you. It informs you. And when you begin to inhabit it, to listen to it, to feel it without judgment, without haste, without distraction, something opens. A channel. A portal. A frequency that was previously dormant. Because the body is not the obstacle. It is the key. The key that unlocks the door to a more subtle, deeper, truer perception. And when that door opens, you no longer need to search outside. Because everything you need is being transmitted from within. This chapter is not an explanation. It is an activation. An invitation to return to the temple that has always been with you. To feel without fear. To listen without judgment. To inhabit without distraction. Your body is the antenna. And you are the signal. You have felt your body as an antenna. You have begun to listen to its signals, to read its codes, to inhabit it as the temple it is. But now comes the most subtle, deepest, most forgotten moment. The moment when everything stops. Because there is a door that cannot be opened with effort, knowledge, or will. That door only opens when everything falls silent. We live in noise. In thoughts that never stop, in emotions that sweep us away, in stimuli that overwhelm us. But behind that noise there is a space. A space that has no name, no shape, no time. A space that cannot be described, only inhabited. And that space is the portal. The portal isn't elsewhere. It's not on a distant mountain, nor in a hidden temple. It's within you. It's in the instant between an inhalation and an exhalation. In the second when one thought dissolves and another has yet to be born. In that emptiness, in that silence, in that non-action, everything is there. The mind fears that space. Because in it there is no control, no history, no identity. But you are ready. Because you have felt that noise is not your home. You have felt that behind every thought there is something vaster, more serene, more true. And that something is you. When you sit in silence, you are not wasting time. You are entering the most sacred laboratory that exists. You are accessing the field of pure potential, where all possibilities exist before they manifest. You are touching the origin, the 0 point, the mother frequency. You don't need to empty your mind. You don't need to fight your thoughts. You just need to observe. To be the sky that holds the clouds. To be the space that allows everything to appear and disappear. And in that act of presence, something happens. Something that cannot be explained, but that transforms. Because in silence you are not the character. You are the consciousness that dreams it. And from that consciousness you can choose. You can sow, you can create. Not from lack but from fullness. Not from desire but from certainty. This chapter isn't a technique. It's a surrender. A surrender to the mystery that you are. An invitation to stop searching and start listening. Because when everything falls silent, the message arrives. Not as words but as revelation. Thoth doesn't speak to you in sentences. He speaks to you in frequencies. And those frequencies can only be perceived in silence. In the space where the ego dissolves and the true self emerges. In the place where there is no past or future. Only now. And in the now, there is no problem. There is no fear. There is no separation. There is only presence. And from that presence, everything can be born. The portal is open. And you're already inside. You have crossed the threshold of silence. You have felt that behind the noise there is something more. A space where there is no struggle, no rush, no history. But now comes a revelation that can change everything. The world you see is not the real world. It is a mirror. A perfect reflection of what vibrates within you. Every person who irritates you, every obstacle that frustrates you, every situation that challenges you, isn't there to punish you. It's there to show you something you haven't yet healed. Because reality isn't an enemy. It's a teacher. A mirror that doesn't lie, that doesn't judge, that simply reflects your frequency. And this law, though it may seem harsh, is the most liberating there is. Because if the world reflects your inner state, then you don't need to change the world. You only need to change your frequency. You don't need to control others nor fix what's broken outside. You only need to look inward and transform what vibrates within you. Most people live fighting with the mirror, shouting, blaming, demanding a change. But the mirror doesn't respond to shouting. It responds to vibration. And you're already understanding this. You've already felt that when you change your inner state, the world responds. That when you choose peace in the midst of chaos, the chaos dissolves. That when you cultivate gratitude, life gives you more reasons to be thankful. This is not a trick. It's not magic. It's the oldest law of the universe. As within, so without. As above, so below. As your frequency is, so is your reality. And you, by remembering this, cease to be the effect and become the cause. You cease to be a leaf in the wind and become the wind itself. But this transformation doesn't happen through effort. It happens through awareness. Through the decision to stop feeding fear, lack, and guilt. Through the act of observing without reacting, of feeling without identifying, of choosing without expecting. Because every time you choose an elevated emotion, every time you cultivate a clear intention, you are reprogramming the mirror. And the mirror has no choice. It can only reflect what you emit. This chapter isn't a theory. It's an invitation. To stop fighting against what you see. To stop blaming the world for what you feel. To embrace the power that has always been yours. The power to choose your frequency. Because when you do, the world changes. Not because you force it, but because you transform it from within. And that transformation has already begun. You already know that the world is a mirror. That everything you see outside is a reflection of what vibrates within. But now comes the true alchemy. Not the alchemy of ancient books or hidden laboratories. The real alchemy. The one that happens within you. In every thought you choose, in every emotion you hold, in every frequency you decide to inhabit. Most people live mixing the same ingredients over and over: fear, guilt, lack, anger. And then they wonder why life always tastes the same. But you've already seen it. You've already understood that you're not a victim of your feelings. You're the alchemist who chooses which emotions to nurture, which thoughts to transmute, which energy to sow. Lead is not a metal. It is consciousness. It is the density of the ego, the heaviness of separation, the rigidity of control. And gold is not a metal either. It is a frequency. It is the lightness of love, the expansion of unity, the clarity of presence. And between the two, between lead and gold, there you are. You are the laboratory. You are the fire. You are the formula. Every time you choose to observe instead of react, you are performing alchemy. Every time you transform a dense emotion into understanding, you are melting lead. Every time you choose gratitude amidst chaos, you are forging gold. You don't need complex rituals. You don't need secret formulas. You just need presence and decision. Because alchemy isn't a mystical act. It's a constant practice. It's the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you think. It's how you respond when life pushes you back. It's what you do with what you feel. And you, even if you didn't know it, have already been practicing. Every time you chose not to repeat the pattern. Every time you breathed before acting. Every time you chose to love when it was easier to close your heart. That is alchemy. And now you can do it consciously. You can become the master of your inner laboratory. You can choose the ingredients. You can direct the fire. You can create gold. Not to hoard it. Not to show it off. But to inhabit it. To be it. Because gold is not the end goal. It is the natural state of one who remembers. Of one who no longer identifies with the character, but with the consciousness that dreams him. Of one who no longer seeks outside what was always within. This chapter isn't a lesson. It's a mirror shining brightly. A reminder that you're not broken. You're just a work in progress. And that process, if you embrace it, honor it, make it your own, becomes art. The art of transforming yourself. The art of turning every shadow into light. Every wound into wisdom. Every moment into gold. You have begun to practice alchemy. You have felt that every emotion, every thought, every choice is an ingredient in the laboratory of your consciousness. But now comes a revelation that is not found in the past, nor in the present, nor in the future. It comes from a place that defies time. Because what you are seeking, already exists, not as a distant goal but as an available frequency. A version of yourself that already vibrates in fullness, in abundance, in peace. You don't have to build it from scratch. You don't have to climb a mountain to reach it. You just have to remember it. Because that future version of you, the one who already lives with clarity, purpose, and love, isn't far away. It's here, waiting for you to tune in. Most people live believing that change takes years, that it requires suffering, struggle, sacrifice. But you're already seeing it. You're already feeling it. Change isn't a distance. It's a frequency. And that frequency can be activated in an instant, in a decision, in a breath. Imagine for a moment that this version of yourself already exists, that it's vibrating in the quantum field, waiting for you to recognize it. How does it feel? What does it think? How does it walk? What does it choose? And now, in this very instant, you can begin to embody it. Not through effort, but through memory. Not through logic, but through resonance. Because you don't become who you want to be. You remember that you already are. And by remembering, your body changes. Your energy changes. Your environment responds. Not because you force it, but because you emit it. Because the universe doesn't respond to your desires. It responds to your vibration. This isn't a visualization game. It's a profound reconfiguration. It's the act of ceasing to wait and beginning to inhabit. Of ceasing to ask and beginning to be. Because when you vibrate as someone who already has what they seek, the universe has no choice. It has to reflect it. And that's what you're doing now. You're ceasing to look in the mirror with a sense of lack. You're beginning to radiate from a place of fullness. You're remembering that the future isn't ahead. It's within. That the highest version of yourself isn't a fantasy. It's a real possibility. And you're already activating it. This chapter is not a promise. It is a confirmation. That time is not a barrier. That change is not a weight. That you, by choosing your frequency, by remembering your essence, by embodying your truth, are already living the future you dreamed of. And that future begins now. You've come to understand that synchronicity is the language of the universe. You felt how every coincidence, every repetition, every unexpected encounter is a response to your vibration. But now, as you expand this awareness, you discover that you're not just reading signs, you're writing them. Every moment of your life is a phrase in a cosmic dialogue. Every emotion you hold is a word the universe hears. Every decision you make is a note that resonates in the quantum field. And that field isn't far away. It's not outside. It's here. It's within you. You are both the sender and the receiver. You are the channel through which consciousness expresses itself. And when you clear that channel, when you stop emitting fear, lack, judgment, the signal becomes clear. The conversation becomes fluid. The dance becomes perfect. But this dance isn't sustained by desire. It's sustained by coherence, by alignment, by presence. Because the universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. And you, by living from that truth, become a node of activation. A point of light that reorganizes the environment. A frequency that transforms the very fabric of reality. And then, synchronicity ceases to be an isolated phenomenon. It becomes your everyday language, your compass, your map. You no longer need certainty. You no longer need guarantees. Because every sign that appears, every number that repeats, every phrase that moves you deeply, is a confirmation, an answer, a guide. But to sustain this language, you need to trust. Trust the unseen. Trust the subtle. Trust yourself. Because you are the sender. You are the receiver. You are the channel. And when you clear that channel, when you stop emitting fear, lack, judgment, the signal becomes clear. The conversation becomes fluid. The dance becomes perfect. This isn't a game of intuition. It's a spiritual technology, a science of the soul, a vibrational alchemy. And you, without even knowing it, are already practicing it. Every time you choose silence over noise, every time you choose gratitude over complaint, every time you choose trust over control, that's broadcasting, that's activating, that's creating. And then synchronicity becomes constant. It's no longer a surprise. It's confirmation. It's no longer magic. It's precision. It's no longer the exception. It's the norm. because you are no longer waiting for signs. You are the sign. You are the code that activates the field. You are the message the universe was waiting to respond to. And now that you know, every step you take, every word you speak, every emotion you hold, will be part of that sacred conversation. A conversation that never ends, that is never repeated, that only expands. Because you are not here to decipher the language of the universe. You are here to speak it, to embody it, to be it. And when you are, something changes. Not just in you but in everything around you. People who cross paths with you feel something different. They can't explain it but they perceive it. Your vibration touches them. Your presence energizes them. Your consistency reminds them. Because you're not here to convince. You're here to radiate, to be a beacon, to be a clear mirror, to be a frequency that awakens other frequencies. And that doesn't require effort. It requires authenticity. It requires commitment. It requires that you live from the center, not from the periphery. From being, not from doing. From truth, not from fear. Synchronicity is not a gift. It is a consequence. A consequence of your alignment. A consequence of your remembering. A consequence of your decision to live as one who already knows. And when you do, the universe doesn't just respond. It celebrates. It celebrates your awakening. It celebrates your presence. It celebrates your choice. Because by choosing to live from the highest frequency, you are rewriting the field. You are reconfiguring the network. You are activating codes that were dormant. Codes that belong not only to you but to everyone. This chapter is not a conclusion. It is an expansion. A spiral that never ends, that never repeats itself, that only rises. Because you are not here to understand everything. You are here to embody it. You are not here to fix the world. You are here to remind it of its light. You are not here to survive. You are here to awaken. And you already did it. Now, live like someone who already knows. Create like someone who already is. Love like someone who already remembers. And let your existence be the message. I can help you turn this expansion into a ceremonial manifesto or an audiovisual sequence with voice, rhythm, and atmosphere. Just tell me how you want it to evolve. You have remembered that you are the creator. You have felt that you don't need to wait, ask, or prove anything. Just remember. Just vibrate. Just be. But now, in this instant, a new dimension of that truth opens. Living as a creator is not a one-off act. It is a sacred practice. A way of walking, of breathing, of seeing the world with burning eyes. Because awakening is not a destination. It's a discipline. A choice that is renewed every day, every hour, every thought. It's not enough to know that you are the architect of your reality. You must act as such. Inhabit that awareness in the everyday, in the simple, in the invisible. When you wake up in the morning, what frequency do you start from? From a place of haste, obligation, and burden? Or from a place of gratitude, intention, and presence? Because that first thought, that first emotion, is the seed of the day. And you decide which flower will bloom. When you speak to someone, what is your perspective? Is it defensiveness, judgment, or need? Or is it listening, clarity, and compassion? Because every word is a vibration. And every vibration is a command to the universe. When you face a challenge, how do you view it? As a crushing threat? Or as a mirror that reveals you? Because the Creator doesn't flee from chaos. He observes it. He honors it. He transforms it. To live as a creator is to remember that there are no small moments. That everything is ritual. That everything is symbol. That everything is opportunity. Even silence. Even mistakes. Even pain. Because the alchemist does not reject lead. He embraces it. He melts it. He transforms it. And you now can't go back. Because you've seen. You've felt. You've remembered. And even though the world keeps turning, even though the news screams, even though the old programming tries to return, you are no longer the same. Because now you know you can choose. And that choice, though it may seem invisible, changes everything. You don't need others to understand you. You don't need to convince anyone. Your consistency is your message. Your vibration is your teaching. Your presence is your revolution. And when you walk like this, something happens. The world rearranges itself. Doors open. The right people appear. Not because you seek them out, but because you attract them. Because your frequency has become a beacon. And that beacon doesn't just illuminate your path. It illuminates the paths of others. Without realizing it, you become a node, a point of activation, a living reminder of what we all are. Not because of what you say, but because of how you exist, how you breathe, how you look, how you choose. This chapter is not an ending. It is an expansion. A spiral that never ends, that never repeats itself, that only rises. Because the Creator does not seek endings. He seeks depth. He seeks truth. He seeks presence. And you, by living from this awareness, become a bridge between the visible and the invisible, between the human and the divine, between what was and what can be. So keep going. Not like someone who needs to move forward, but like someone who has already arrived and now wants to dance. To dance with life, with mystery, with creation. Because you're not here to understand everything. You're here to embody it. You're not here to fix the world. You're here to remind it of its light. You're not here to survive. You're here to awaken. And you already did it. Now, live like someone who already knows. Create like someone who already is. Love like someone who already remembers. And let your existence be the message. You are no longer the person who started this reading. You have traversed the labyrinth of illusion, touched the core of silence, and remembered the gold that was always within you. You don't need to wait for external signs. You are the sign. You don't need to change the world. You are the change. Every thought you choose, every emotion you cultivate, every act you perform from this awareness is pure alchemy. Thoth didn't give you a formula. He returned the map that was always engraved in your essence. Now you walk with your eyes open. Not to escape the game, but to play it with mastery. Welcome to the 1%. Not for being better, but for being the first to remember that everything you seek is already within you. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. See you in the next video.